You are listening to the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps, the ultimate podcast for die-hard fans and passionate followers of the Utah Jazz. Here are your hosts, Sam and Peeps.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is I'm Peeps and my co-host Sammy G. We're starting our new podcast. It's called the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps. Sam, do you want to tell me a little bit why you became a Jazz fan, kind of why you want to start the podcast?
Well, I mostly just want to start the podcast to have a platform to argue with you. No, just kidding. But I've just always been a Jazz fan. I grew up in Utah. Now I live in Arizona. But yeah, I was just always a Jazz fan ever since I was a kid. I don't remember how I got into it. My brother was a Celtics fan. I was a Jazz fan. We would always watch games together. Yeah, pretty much ever since elementary school, I was super big into it, and now I'm still a diehard fan.
That's awesome. For me, a little different. Sammy G is the one who got me into jazz. When we were in high school, started watching the games. And then now we just started watching, especially after COVID. We started becoming diehard fans. Well, I started becoming a diehard fan. And now since Sam's in Arizona, we still want to keep talking about the Jazz. And we decided, well, other people hear about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But
like that. I was going to say that 1 seed year when the Jazz were the 1 seed, actually, probably the bubble year is when Justin became like super big into it. Was during the bubble because we didn't really have anything else to do, and so then we would watch like every game during the bubble together because we were roommates. And then ever since then, he's been super into it, and so we've always kind of talked about it. So that's kind of how it started for the two of us.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. But what we want to talk about today, starting out, is the schedule. The schedule just came out this last week. And one of the main things I noticed, which was kind of funny, last year we only had one national game?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Before the year started, we had 0 on the schedule. And then as the season went on, they gave us the very last game, and it wasn't because of the Jazz. It was just because we were playing the Lakers the last day of the season. And so we have a few more. We got a little bit more respect, but not that many still.
Yeah, I mean, so what I saw was we had 5 NBA TV games, which I don't even know if that counts as really national, but then we have 1 ESPN and 1 TNT game, and those are both in that middle of the season, the in-season tournament. So it's we get a little respect, but
we pretty much got 2 of them because you have to pay for NBA TV. So anyway, yeah, but we got 2 this year, so we went up 1.
Yeah. What do you think we're gonna do though? How do you think we're gonna finish the year?
I'm thinking we'll probably go right around 500. I mean, if you think about it, after the season ended last year, after the trade deadline last year, after Conley got traded, I think we went 17 and 17 or something. It was exactly 500 after Conley left, and I think it'll be pretty much the same this year as we're incorporating new players, especially the rookies, if we're giving them minutes. And so I see us being right in the middle of the play-in race. A little bit better, but the rest of the league kind of improved too.
I think if we play all of our starters, we're healthy, we have a chance to get to 44 wins. I went through the whole entire season, and I came out with 41 wins out of the 80 because we have the 2 games that are to be determined. So 41, let's just say we split the other 2, so 42 wins, just over the 50%. And the funny thing, here's something interesting. I have us winning 8 of 11 to start. So
really? I do not. I went through. Really? I went through the first 10, and I put this at 5-5. Everything I went through, and then I did the whole schedule, and I have us going 40-40 in the 80 games that are scheduled. So everything for me right now is win loss essentially. And I have some streaks where we're winning 4 or 5 in a row, and then other times where we're losing 4 or 5 in a row, just depending on the competition, obviously. But that's interesting.
I think my biggest lose streak is 6. Hey,
really?
That's what I say. This is my thing. The Kings, that's what we're playing first. We're playing them at home. I'm you know what?
Kings are good.
That was a little questionable to me, but I was you know what? We're at home. We have the energy. Let's just say we win it, right? Then Clippers, we win, but then we're hitting Suns and Nuggets. Suns first game of the year one of the first games of the year, so their whole team's gonna be healthy. That's gonna be a hard matchup. And
you can say the same thing about the Clippers.
True. True. But I said I was thinking because we're at home. But that was my thoughts on that. And then my next loss is with the Bulls, and that's kind of how it rounds out those first few games.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I have us going like 0-4 to start, but then getting well, actually at 1-3 because I think we'll beat the Kings. But I think that will be close. But yeah, I think we'll go like 1-3, and then we'll get some easy ones like against the Grizzlies, Magic. Bulls aren't that hard. Pacers aren't that hard. Another Grizzlies game. So I think it will end up being even after a little bit of a rough start.
Yeah. Here's one thing I want to bring up too. So I know we both listened to David Locke, right? And one of the main things he's talked about recently, like one of his main questions, is 26, 36, or 46. So what's kind of your take on that? Why do you think he's going for more low?
Well, I don't get it because you brought this up to me is that the Jazz have very rarely dipped below like 36 or less. You know, like didn't you say it's only happened like 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, so we got since the 1983 season, which was like our first playoff series. There's been 3 seasons that had a worse season than the 2022-2023. So you had the 04 to 05, which 26 wins. You had the 2011-2012 with 36 wins, and the 2013-2014 with 25 wins. And then technically, the 98-99 season had 37 wins, but there's only 50 games in total, so we actually destroyed that year.
Count.
Yeah, so it doesn't count towards it. So we've only had 3 seasons lower than what we had this last year, and 2 of those David Locke is saying is a possibility.
Yeah, and then last year we had 37 wins, and I just don't see how we get worse at all, honestly. I mean, pretty much every player in the system, every player on our team has another year under Will Hardy in the system. Last year they were still learning his system. We got another year of Walker Kessler, and he's playing USA basketball. We have Lauri Markkanen, who's just getting better. Like, everyone on our team is only getting better. I mean, we lost Conley, Beasley, and Vanderbilt, but even after they were all traded and we were trying to tank, we still went 500.
We were still doing good.
Yeah, so it literally doesn't make any sense to me at all how we would get less than like 37 or 36 wins unless we have a bunch of injuries. But like with the roster we have now, assuming everyone's healthy, there's no way we get worse.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I get you.
But
and you were watching the USA game today, right? Weren't you?
Yeah, I was watching it today. Kessler played last game, but he didn't play today. Or at least I only saw the second half, but he didn't play in the second half.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch it, but I was hoping that Kessler was going to get some minutes, but he has not been.
Last game
he's not the best player on that team, I guess.
Guess not. Last game he got real minutes because the team we were playing was a little bit bigger, but Steve Kerr said no more after one game. And he did well last game too, but yeah, he just likes the small ball.
Dude, do you remember when we went to the preseason game last year though, and we both went down the stairs? I had a Jordan Clarkson jersey on, and you had like a John Stockton jersey.
Yeah, it was like an all-star Stockton jersey.
And I was like, "Yo, that's Kessler. This guy's gonna be big. You should get his jersey signed." So
we had no idea who he was. We literally had no idea. And then
you got probably like his.
It's probably his first autograph.
He was like so happy to sign the jersey, and like when I got my Jordan Clarkson jersey signed, it's like he's signed so many by that point. He's like, yeah. But like for you, it was like, oh hey, thanks. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, he was so stoked. Yeah. Mike Conley also signed my stuff, and he was like, yeah, whatever. Like he didn't care. But Kessler, he was like, really, you want me to sign it? Thank you. Like he was like super cool. He's awesome.
Oh, I love Kessler. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think he'll be right outside of all-star talks, or he'll get mentioned a few times. I don't think he'll be an all-star, but I think he'll be close. That's what my thoughts are on that.
I think he'll be under consideration. I hope so.
Yeah, but talking about, I mentioned Jordan Clarkson for a second. What do you think about starting point guard?
Whoa! I have my own thoughts on the schedule, real quick.
Oh, okay. My bad.
No, you're good. we're getting into our flow still. I was just gonna say that the Jazz do have like some nice breaks this year that I feel like we don't normally get. Like, for example, some things that will help us with our record and everything is we play the Grizzlies 3 times in the first 25 games, and obviously Ja is suspended for 25 games, and so that's a break. A lot of these I got from Andy Larson, by the way. And then also, like, we're going to Brooklyn. We play Brooklyn and New York in the same road trip, so we don't have to go there twice. That Eastern road trip, we don't have to do that twice. And then we have a lot of really compact road trips with like Minnesota, Chicago, Indiana, Memphis, all in one road trip. Atlanta, Orlando, Miami in one road trip, and then OKC, Dallas, and Houston in one road trip. And so just like with all that, it's going to minimize a lot of miles for us. I think we travel like the 10th fewest miles in the league, which I feel like is pretty good for a Western team. Let's see, other breaks we had. Oh, yeah, we're tied for the fewest back-to-backs in the NBA. We only have 13. I think the Clippers have the most with 25 or something like that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, there's like a lot of things that are kind of just breaking our way, which I think will help us get a lot more wins. And then even the last month of the season, at first glance, it looks super tough. Like we played the Cavs, Clippers twice, Nuggets, Rockets, Warriors, but really those are super. We could win a lot down the stretch because we have the Clippers in April who are going to be resting their guys almost always, and so we play them twice. The Warriors will probably be resting their guys. We play them twice. The Rockets will be tanking. So really, the only tough game that whole month is the Cavs. And so even if we're like on the verge of making it, I feel like the last month of the season we could make a pretty good push.
We'll shoot up.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's just like I feel like the Jazz don't usually get this lucky, so it's just nice that we finally got some breaks. Anyway,
no, dude, I didn't look to that schedule though. That's interesting that we have the lowest amount of back-to-backs though.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's pretty nice. I was surprised. So anyway, it's good. I'm excited about that. That's anyway, you can take it.
Okay, so starting point guard. Who do you think? I know we definitely differ on opinions here of the point guard position, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Okay, so if you're talking about just like first game of the season.
Let's say yes, first game of the season. Who's the starting point guard? Who's the backup point guard?
Okay, so to begin the year, I would want Jordan Clarkson to start, and then at point guard, which most people, I mean, obviously he's never been a point guard before, and so most people don't really picture him that way. But I would put him at point guard, starting next to Ochai Agbaji, and then backup. I think it would kind of be a mix at because pretty much all of our guys are point guards / shooting guards, and so guys that I see getting minutes off the bench, I want like Keontae George to be the primary backup point guard, and then I want Sexton to be getting minutes at the 2. Pretty much, I never want Sexton and Clarkson to be on the court together because I feel like they have the exact same skill set, and so it's kind of redundant to have both of them. And then I would want Chris Dunn to have like spot minutes, I think, and then THT would probably be the guy that's on the outside looking in, not getting any minutes, which Justin doesn't like. Like maybe garbage time minutes, but we don't have enough for all 6 of them or whatever. So I would say Chris Dunn minimal minutes, and the main guys getting backup minutes is George and Sexton.
Okay.
And all right. I can give you what are you gonna say? I was gonna give you my reason for Clarkson, but
okay, give me a reason for Clarkson. Give me a reason for THT not getting any minutes.
Okay, that sounds good. So basically, the reason I want Clarkson, I think you will agree that he is just overall our best perimeter player. Do you disagree? Like overall,
no,
he's the best guard.
I think he's the best guard. Best guard,
exactly.
Hands down.
And then obviously, like he just signed that extension, so obviously he started. I think we know that for sure. Whether it's the 1 or the 2 is the question. But I want to see him at the 1 because I really want us to be developing Ochai Agbaji because he's one of the guys that was reported as being untouchable last season. So I still want him to get a ton of minutes. And so I want Clarkson at the 1. And obviously he's one of our only guys that can just go out and get himself a bucket like anytime he wants. He's one of the only self-creators on the team. Definitely the best self-creator on the team. It also seems like the Jazz are valuing positional size. Clarkson's 6'4", so that feeds into that. Really, I think he would be great as a starter. The only thing that worries me is his playmaking. And so most of his career, he's been averaging between like
ball hog.
Yeah, like everyone knows it's like, oh, if Clarkson touches it, no one's getting the ball. But last year it got better, and I'll tell you, monthly it was October, so that's only 8 games. But in October, he averaged 5.3 assists per game, and then it started dipping. So November it went down to 4.8, December 3.8, January 3.5, February it went back up to 4.6, which I think is interesting because that's the month that Conley got traded. And so, first of all, I think it's just like he just has to have a real focus on playmaking, which I'm sure he did at the beginning of the year. And then as the year went on, he probably just went into more bad habits. And then when Conley got traded, he realized he needed to step up. And so, really, to me, if Clarkson can be a playmaker, I want him to start. If he proves that he really can't do it, then maybe we slide him over to the 2. But I just want our best guard to be the starting point guard, essentially.
Yeah, I get you. Here's my so Jordan Clarkson. Obviously, I love Jordan Clarkson. I got his jersey, right?
Yeah, he
used
to be Justin's favorite player. Yeah.
Oh, him and Kessler are kind of battling it out right
1A,
now. 1B. But Clarkson, for me, I just don't see him as like a natural point guard. Yeah, because he has that ball hog mentality. And when he starts to get comfortable, you can see like the start of the season, he's focusing on, he's one of the top dogs on the team. He's got a pass, and then he got comfortable, brought it down, right? Brought his assist down. And I just don't see him as being like a long-term solution for us. So yeah, maybe at the start of the year, he's a facilitator, but I don't see him as even being halfway through the season as a point guard for us. But here's another question. Do you think he's going to get traded at the trade deadline? Do you think he's going to stay on the team? I feel like we have so many guards.
I haven't thought too much about it, but I think if the Jazz were going to trade Clarkson, I feel like they either would have done it in the off season or they just wouldn't have re-signed him. But I mean, it's possible. I hadn't thought too much about it, but once he signed that extension, I kind of assumed that he's in the long-term plans. That's what I think. And then I think that there's a lot of other guards who could be traded. I think Dunn could get traded. THT could get traded. Sexton has a super tradable contract. So I think any of them could kind of be on the block besides Keontae George. I think he's the only guy that is for sure not going to get traded this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So my lineups I got for the starting lineup, I have JC at the 2. And then at the 1,
you said you're talking about Clarkson. In my head, I thought John Collins for some reason.
Oh. Yeah, I have John Clark and John Collins.
I was like, bro, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he's only like 6'9". He can do it.
Yeah, with how we play, seriously.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually kind of true.
With Kelly Olynyk at the 1.
Hey, he was actually doing good at the end of the year being the facilitator.
I know,
but I don't think he'll ever be the facilitator.
I've seen some highlights on Canada. He can pass that ball, bro.
All right, so yeah, I got Jordan Clarkson at the 2, and then here's a funny thing: I have Colin Sexton at the 1 to start. Here's the thing: I'm not a big fan of Colin Sexton. I think if we're gonna trade any of our guards, I think he would be the first one to go. I think he is. I mean, compared to all of our guards, he has one of the biggest contracts. He's getting paid like $17 million, and then above him, it's Jordan Clarkson now at $23 million, and John Collins at 25. So he's the third highest paid player on our team, and I just don't see him as being good enough for that. But he is a desired player. We could trade him and get some assets back, and then have more space, more room in the guard positions. So having Sexton play starting point guard, but then backup point guard, I have THT. And here's the reason for it. So if you go back to his first half of last season, he really didn't get many minutes. He only got 15.5. And his 3-point percentage, super low. He had really low assists, and he only had 6.7 points per game. But when the Conley trade happened, everything happened after the start of the year. So going from his first game on the 5th of January, because he had a stretch that he didn't play any games. So you start on the 5th of January. He started getting 14.7 points per game. And he got 24 minutes per game after that. And his field goal percentage went up. His shooting percentage, his all over, or overall shooting percentage also went up. So I'm like, okay, yeah, he wasn't supposed to be a point guard. He had to get into the flow. But the thing is, a lot of his stats went up. He got more rebounds. He had 5 assists per game. Now, one of the things he did have was turnovers. He got 2.7 turnovers per game. But the funny thing is, Jordan Clarkson gets, where is it? He gets 3 turnovers per game. And he does have a few more minutes, but it's like about the same amount of turnovers. And I just see THT as having a higher ceiling, and he would be a better backup point guard. So you got Jordan Clarkson at the 2, Colin Sexton at the 1. Those are both starting. Then you have THT at the 1 backup. And then the 2 backup is KG3, so Keontae George. And then I actually have Ochai backing up Laurie at the 3 mostly. So that's where most of his minutes are, at least.
I think what I think will happen is I think Ochai will end up starting this year. I think he will, but I think most of his minutes will be backup small forward. Like, I could see us playing like a 9-man rotation, and so everyone has a backup to their spot except for Ochai just slides over to the 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's Yep.
But we'll see if he starts or not. But he'll for sure get a lot of minutes, I think. So
yeah. But what do you think about my take on THT's progression throughout the year?
I don't know. You know how I feel about THT. He's going to his 5th season, right? Or is it his
4th or 5th? Something like that.
I think it's his 5th. And I don't know. I just don't feel like he's that much better now than he was as a rookie. When he was first with the Lakers, everyone was so hyped about him because he had this one preseason game where he scored like 35 points, and they were like, he's going to replace LeBron as the king of LA. And people were super hyped about him, and so hyped that like there were so many trades that the Lakers wanted to make for different guys that the Lakers were like, we're not doing it because we believe in THT, and all these teams wanted THT. Anyway, so there was like all this hype, and I just don't feel like it's really panned out. Or in the end, he ended up getting traded for like Patrick Beverly, which, come on, Patrick Beverly. Anyway, it's I don't know. I just don't think that he's that great. Like, he's been in the league a long time, and I don't feel like he's gotten that much better. Like you said, he's just a really bad shooter. He got worse at shooting every single year until last year, where he went back up a little bit. So like, he started out his rookie year, he was shooting 30% per 36 minutes, and then he went down a couple each year, and then last year it went back up to 28%. 28% is not good. So that's my main concern is just the shooting. And then also, I feel like within the offense, when he gets the ball, it kind of stops swinging around, and he's just sort of a ball stopper. And then I think he could be a decent player. I just don't personally see him as a point guard. Like, Dave Luck always talks about how he's never played point guard before. And so I think that I just don't think it comes natural to him like it does with other guys like Chris Dunn or Keontae George, who are more used to playing point guard. What he does good at, like, obviously he has some strengths, and I think his biggest strength is just his positional size. So he's just super hard to guard off the dribble. He's stronger than opponents, which allows him to get to the rim better. And then he is a really good rebounder for his position. So he has strengths, but the shooting is really the thing that I'm just like, oh my gosh, good grief. Because if you're putting him in the starting lineup with Clarkson, Markkanen, Collins, and Kessler, obviously Markkanen can shoot and Clarkson can shoot. Collins can kind of shoot, but I don't like trust him that much shooting the 3. And then Kessler's taken like 3 3-pointers his career so far. So if you're having, let's just say that Kessler and THT are the guys that can't shoot, I just don't like having a lineup full of non-shooters, or with half the lineup not being able to shoot. I mean, so that's like 2 of the 5 can't shoot, and it's going to make it really hard to like spread the floor, things like that. So anyway, my main thing is he can't shoot the ball. He turns it over, and those are the 2 main things. I just feel like we could do better by giving those minutes to Keontae George and letting him develop off the bench. But I guess that's just me. So
yeah, I honestly, my main goal I would love to see Keontae George be the point guard for our team.
Me
like
too.
Obviously we watched him in summer league, and summer league is summer league, so like it's not real NBA, but he played really well, and I don't think at the start of the season there's no way he would be able to start. No way that's a good progression for him either to like just throw him in. But I think halfway through the season, maybe 3/4 of the way, if we start giving him minutes at the point guard, and he really develops that, I bet you by next year he could be our point guard.
I'm hoping that by the end of the year that he's our starting point guard. I hope so. And that's something that like I think a lot of coaches, especially for a young team like us, where we're not really focused on what the end of the season looks like. We're just trying to get better. It's not really about whether we do or don't make the playoffs. It's just about getting better. I think that a lot of coaches would just go to him from the beginning just to see what can happen and just to throw him into the fire and help him get better as soon as possible. But I know Will Hardy has like gone on record multiple times saying that he doesn't believe in just putting a rookie in there just because they're a rookie. Like he always talks about earning minutes. So I think it will take time for him to really get real minutes just because Will Hardy has said that. But I mean, if he's good enough, I think like Will Hardy's just going to go with whoever the best player is. And so I think he's got a chance. And that's another thing with Talhorn Tucker is like he had more DNPs than any other guard that's on the team right now. And so it's like, if Will Hardy doesn't trust him, I don't trust him. In Hardy, I trust. And so that's another thing is I'm like, I believe in Will Hardy. And if he doesn't believe in THT, then I don't believe in THT.
Okay. Here's the take though on that. Colin Sexton, he only played 48 games that whole season. THT played 65. But here's the thing. I think he missed 17 games or something like that with his arm injury. I think it was his wrist. And I feel like at least the last few of those games, last 5, last 7, were them just shutting him down, not playing him.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't know.
I think that's kind of a hard comparison.
You're talking about THT, right?
Colin Sexton win.
Oh, with the injury. Oh yeah. I think that like they were tanking obviously at the end of the year. So they just didn't play him, and then they even shut down THT. Like even he was too good for them to play.
I think he didn't play like the last 3 games he didn't play.
Yeah,
but he only missed 11 games since the start of the year.
Yeah, and I went and counted,
most of those were at the start.
And there were a couple of them that weren't injury that he just like DNP coach.
Yeah,
decision.
Just didn't get minutes.
Yeah, and so that's another thing where I'm like, if Coach Hardy doesn't trust you, then I don't trust you. But anyway,
true. Okay, here's another interesting thing though on the Colin Sexton THT is their plus minus. I don't know if you took a look at this, but THT was pretty like average on his plus minus. So he had for the whole season, he had a plus minus of minus 0.1, and the last half of the season was a positive 0.1. Okay. So Colin Sexton, though, he had breaks even, yeah. And then Colin Sexton, really similar. He had a minus 0.6 for the whole season, but the second half of the season, he had a minus 0.24.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, obviously with them on the court, they were losing more, it sounds like. But I will say that I feel like THT a lot of the time was going against, a lot of the time he's getting garbage time minutes or he was getting backup minutes, or a lot of time with Sexton, it kind of depended on the time of year last year, but throughout his career in general, he has been going against the other team's best players. He's usually been going against the starters. So you also have to factor in competition, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But anyways, that's what, that's point guard for me. More than anything, I think I'm just excited to see what actually happens. We can always talk, but it's like, what is going on in Will Hardy's mind?
I know. It's like everyone knows who at least the front court for sure. I guess. We pretty much know 4 of the 5 stars. We know Clarkson's going to start. We just don't know which position he's going to start.
Exactly where.
We know 4 out of 5 starters, and so it is just so I'm just so curious to see who that. And
I assume you're taking John at the 4, right? John Collins starting 4.
Yeah, marking 3. I guess some people have been saying Olynyk deserves like a look starting, but for me personally, I go John Collins. You don't pay that guy that much to come off the bench, in my opinion. So.
That's honestly, at 2 days, I was like, oh yeah, Kelly Olynyk could start, but it's like honestly, I'd rather have him coming off the bench being kind of one of the facilitators off the bench,
Yeah, I think he
I
could
think he would fit that
calm the
position
bench
better.
down, especially if he's with a bunch of rookies out there. Then I don't know. I feel like he kind of like in a Mike Conley way last year. Olynyk could be like that calming, steady presence on the floor. So yeah,
Yeah.
but
All right. Okay. And our next part is the league rundown. So we talked about the Jazz, talk about the league for a few minutes. My main things I kind of had was obviously Victor Wembanyama. He's been talked up, and I know we've talked about it a few times, but it's like for me, he's been talked up so much, and I just see his body and his size, and he reminds me and just looks like Chet, right?
yes,
And Chet got injured preseason against LeBron. It was in the Drew League, right?
yeah, it was in one of those pro-ams. I think it was probably the Drew
Yeah.
League, but it was something like that.
And I'm just like, I just don't see how Victor Wembanyama is going to stay healthy. But I want to hear what you think of that.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a super valid concern. I mean, with Wemby and Chet, like with both of them, it's a pretty valid concern because I can't think of many guys. Like, there's a few, but I really can't think of many guys who were that tall, and I can't think of any guys that were that tall and that skinny that stayed healthy. And so obviously we don't want them to get hurt, but it wouldn't be very surprised if either of them do get hurt. The one thing I don't know how that much about like Chet's programs or anything like that, but I have listened to some interviews with Wembanyama, and I know that like last year he didn't miss a single game, which is obviously a good sign, and that he has like a whole team of people that are literally just there to help him stay healthy. As far as like nutrition goes and workouts go, like he has a whole team around him just to keep him healthy. And so I hope he stays healthy. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if in the end he's just like one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history,
He's another Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. Literally.
Yeah, here's my thing. If he's taken, I mean, yeah, like you said, he has a whole team behind him helping him stay healthy. It's like obviously they are concerned about it. That's why they've hired so many people to watch it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, now here's the thing. For this season, maybe he's healthy all season, but I still just don't see him as big of an impact as people think he's going to be. But I'm also curious to see how he goes. Just like I'm curious to see, who the starting point guard is for the Jazz. Curious to see how Victor Wembanyama goes.
Yeah, no, it's literally like it's impossible for him to live up to expectations, at least as a rookie. I mean, he played in France, so a lot of people didn't see him. I mean, obviously all the scouts did and stuff, but like a lot of fans who are like, he's going to come in and be freaking Michael Jordan, or he's going to come in and be LeBron James. I don't think people understand that like he's super raw on offense specifically. Like he has like all the tools and like all the physicalities to be really good, but he isn't like the best shooter right now, and he's just not all that great at offense at this point. I think he'll immediately be one of the best defenders in the league. I think he'll be a top 10 defender like in his very first season, but on offense, I think people have to like temper their expectations.
He'll give Kessler a run for his rookie stat count for blocks.
Yeah, literally. He will. I mean, I feel like he'll still get like double-digit points just off of like offensive rebounds alone, just because he's so freaking tall. So I think his numbers could still look fine, but as far as like shooting goes and passing and everything, I don't really expect that much on offense as a rookie. But I think on defense he'll be insane. But that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, and here's another thing that happened this week on in the whole NBA world. So obviously James Harden, there's been a lot of trade talks about him, right? Going to the Rockets, going to other teams or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But he came out, I think it was like on Monday, Tuesday, something like that, and is in China, and he is just calling out the president of basketball operations, right?
Yeah.
And he's just calling him a liar. And so supposedly, according to Bleacher Report, it's unclear what he lied about, but obviously James Harden's mad, and he says he never wants to play for a guy who is a liar like that.
Yeah.
But here's my thoughts on what he's lying about. So James Harden signed the contract, right? He just signed his extension. or not his extension, but his player option.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you there was talks that said, hey, if you sign this, you help us out, we'll help you get to a good team. And now they're not going to trade him.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts. But what do you think?
I agree with that. I think that one of the things that was definitely that they promised if he opted in, they would trade him, and so he was like, "Yeah, I'll help you out by getting you something in return. So I'm not just leaving for nothing." I also think part of it was I think he would have left if there was a team really willing to give him money, like was willing to give him a lot. I think he would have left. I just feel like the market this summer was no one was really getting that much money. There weren't that many maxes handed out. Like Fred VanVleet got a really good contract, and I can't even think of anyone else that got a max contract over the summer. I don't know if you can think of anyone, but I can't. So anyway, I think a lot of it was like he didn't really have any other options, so he kind of had to go back. But then I also think that last summer, when he signed the 2-year deal, he took a pay cut. For him anyway, not for me. But yeah, he took a pay cut, and he was probably promised that if you do this year so that we can get these good role players, then next summer we're going to sign you to a long-term deal, the Supermax, all of that. But then as the season went on and then when the season ended, obviously that didn't happen. And so I think that he's calling him a liar. One, because he was promised a bigger deal, and then two, because he was promised he would get traded, and now neither of those things are happening. And he says that they're just going to bring him in for training camp, which he says he's going to skip, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's actually going to happen when that training camp shows. Like, is he just going to like put his ego aside, play with them, or is it going to be like a Ben Simmons style?
Yeah,
we'll see.
No, it's crazy though because. It's really crazy because James Harden and Daryl Morey had like a super good relationship because they were with the Rockets for a really long time together. And then once Daryl Morey went to the Sixers, like he was like, I got to get James Harden. And he had all these other deals. Like he could have got Tyrese Halliburton. But anyway, he went for James Harden. And now suddenly they just hate each other. And they were like best friends, basically, like super close. And now they just hate each other. So I don't know what happened. But I am super excited for like the documentary that comes out about it someday.
Yeah, true. How do you think it's gonna affect the rest of the team though? Like Embiid.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I think that's the biggest question is what does Embiid do next? I think he's just gonna sit and wait, and I think if Harden leaves, Embiid will request a trade. I mean, without Harden, there's no way that they're real contenders. Like Maxi's not that good, So
yeah,
and I don't think Embiid's gonna wait around for a rebuild either. So I think if Harden goes, Embiid's gonna go. Is that what you think?
So yeah, I think it's gonna look just like the Nets do now. They had all these people on their team, and then they just kind of disappeared, and no one cares about them anymore.
Oh my gosh, that would be so bad, honestly.
Issue is James Harden has done this on multiple teams, and the team kind of always looks the same after he leaves.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I wouldn't touch him. I mean, even his skill set seems like just seems perfect for the Jazz, but I would not even consider it.
Yeah,
he's too toxic.
All right. All right. Well, that's it for our podcast today. Tune in next week though. Subscribe, follow us on any of if you're on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Next week, I know we're going to be talking about trade options for the Utah Jazz. I know we're going to talk about some of the expectations for the rookies and some other stuff. So, stay tuned, but let us know if you have any questions. See y'all next week.
Thanks for listening to the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps. If you're as passionate about the Jazz as we are, remember to hit that subscribe button or follow the podcast so you never miss a beat. Stay tuned for more insights that will keep your Jazz spirit alive all year round.